Have you ever wondered what sparked the fire of the Israel War? Delve into the annals of history, and you'll find a string of events that set the stage for the Israel War. The origins of this conflict are deeply rooted in the early 20th century, a time of global change and political upheaval. The partition of Palestine and the establishment of the State of Israel in 1948 were pivotal moments that ignited the flames of this enduring conflict. But let's rewind a bit. The seeds of this discord were sown during World War I when Britain, aiming to gain support against the Ottoman Empire, promised to establish a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine. This promise, known as the Balfour Declaration, kindled the hopes of Jewish Zionists, but also aroused the fears and opposition of the Arab majority living in Palestine. Fast forward to 1947. The United Nations proposed a partition plan, dividing Palestine into separate Jewish and Arab states. The Jews accepted the plan, but the Arabs rejected it, feeling that it infringed on their rights and interests. The very next year, in 1948, the State of Israel was declared, causing an immediate backlash from the Arab nations. Key players in this unfolding drama included not only Israel and the Arab states, but also external powers like Britain, the United States, and the Soviet Union, each with their own geopolitical interests and motivations. For Israel, the aim was survival and security. For the Arab nations, it was about asserting their rights and resisting what they saw as colonial imposition. For the world powers, it was a strategic chess game, a balancing act of power and influence in the volatile Middle East. So, the stage was set for a conflict that would reverberate across the globe. This was not merely a regional dispute, but a complex web of political, religious, and ethnic tensions that would draw in nations far and wide, setting the course for a proxy war of unprecedented proportions. So, the stage was set for a conflict that would reverberate across the globe. In any war, the battle lines are not drawn solely by the main combatants. The Israel War, like many others, was not solely a conflict between two nations. It was a complex web of alliances and proxies, each with their own motivations and agendas. This complicated the situation, influencing the course of the war in ways that were often unpredictable. One of the most significant of these proxies was the Iran-Israel proxy conflict. This was not a direct war between Iran and Israel, but a series of clashes and tensions played out through proxies in different regions. Iran, a long-standing opponent of Israel, used various non-state actors to exert influence and apply pressure. This added another layer of complexity to the Israel War, as battles were fought not only on the ground, but also through these indirect channels. But the Iran-Israel proxy conflict was not the only proxy in play. Other countries too had a stake in the outcome of the war. Some, like Russia and the United States, were motivated by strategic interests. Others, like the Gulf countries, were driven by regional concerns and long-standing rivalries. These countries used their influence to shape the course of the war, often in ways that were not immediately apparent. Non-state actors also played a crucial role in the war. These groups, which ranged from militant organizations to political movements, often served as proxies for larger powers. They carried out attacks, spread propaganda, and influenced public opinion, all in service of their patrons' goals. In this way, the war in Israel became a global chess game. Each move, each clash, each alliance was not just about the immediate conflict, but about a larger struggle for power and influence. This made the war not just a local conflict, but a reflection of global tensions and rivalries. The war in Israel was not just a local conflict, but a global chess game. While the conflict raged, the world was watching, especially the Gulf countries. The Gulf nations, traditionally known for their diplomatic discretion, found themselves in the limelight. The reactions varied widely, reflecting the diverse political landscapes and alliances within the region. Some countries, like Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates, took a more pragmatic approach, balancing their political interests with their economic ties to the warring parties. They provided humanitarian aid, yet remained cautious not to escalate the situation further. On the other hand, countries like Qatar and Kuwait expressed more vocal criticism of the conflict, championing the cause of peace and advocating for diplomatic resolutions. Meanwhile, the humanitarian crisis prompted a widespread response across the Gulf, with nations contributing generously to relief efforts. They showed a shared concern for the human cost of the conflict, despite their political differences. The response from the Gulf countries added another layer of complexity to the conflict. Meanwhile, a cold wind blew from the east as Russia entered the fray. A complex game of chess was set in motion, where Russia, a seasoned player, would play a crucial role. Russia's involvement in the Israel war wasn't a whimsical decision. It was a strategic maneuver, a calculated choice rooted in their long-standing geopolitical interests. It was an opportunity to assert their influence in the Middle East, a region that has been a battleground for power and resources for centuries. Strategically, Russia has been a key military ally for many Middle Eastern countries, supplying them with arms and equipment. Their involvement in this conflict was no different. They provided military support, but they also played a more nuanced role, one that isn't often highlighted. Russia's political involvement in the war was equally significant. They positioned themselves as mediators, attempting to broker peace deals and ceasefires. This was a tactical move allowing them to maintain relationships with both sides of the conflict. It was a balancing act, a tightrope walk, but one they managed with their characteristic shrewdness and finesse. Interestingly, Russia's interests in the region aren't merely political or military. They're also economic. The Middle East is a rich reservoir of oil and gas, resources that Russia, with its energy-centric economy, has a vested interest in. Their involvement in the war was a bid to protect these interests to ensure their economic stability. But it's important to remember that every action has consequences, and Russia's involvement in the Israel war was no exception. It escalated the conflict, introducing a new level of complexity and uncertainty. It changed the dynamics, the rules of the game. However, it's not just about the immediate impact. Russia's involvement in the Israel war has broader implications. It signifies a shift in the global power dynamics, a change in the status quo. It's a testament to Russia's growing influence in international politics, a reminder of their strategic prowess. Russia's involvement would prove to be a game changer. Across the Atlantic, the USA was formulating its own response to the escalating conflict. As a key global actor, the United States found itself thrust into a critical role, tasked with navigating the complex geopolitics of the Middle East. The United States' strategy was three-pronged: diplomatic, military, and humanitarian. Diplomatically, the USA engaged in a delicate dance, balancing its existing alliances with the need for regional stability. The U.S. State Department worked tirelessly behind the scenes, attempting to broker peace agreements, enforce ceasefires, and mitigate the risk of the conflict spiraling out of control. These diplomatic efforts weren't always successful, but they served as a crucial reminder of the power of dialogue in times of crisis. On the military front, the USA took a cautious approach. Rather than direct intervention, the United States opted for strategic support. This took the form of intelligence sharing, logistical assistance, and the provision of military hardware to its allies. The USA's military actions were a testament to the nation's commitment to protect its allies while avoiding unnecessary escalation. The third pillar of the USA's strategy was humanitarian aid. With thousands of civilians caught in the crossfire, the United States recognized the dire need for assistance. The USA mobilized its resources, providing food, medical supplies, and other essential items to those affected by the conflict. This aid was not just about alleviating immediate suffering. It was also about sowing the seeds of goodwill and demonstrating the USA's commitment to the welfare of all people, not just their strategic allies. The USA's response to the Israel war was a complex balancing act, a dance between strategic interests and humanitarian imperatives. It was a reminder of the critical role the United States plays on the global stage, and of the immense responsibility that comes with such influence. As the conflict raged on, the USA's actions would have far-reaching consequences. The ripples of these actions are still felt today, shaping not just the Middle East, but the broader geopolitical landscape. This saga underscores the USA's pivotal role in international affairs and the profound impact of its decisions on global peace and stability. In the end, the Israel war was not just a battle over land, but a clash of ideologies, alliances, and global interests. This conflict, deeply rooted in history, was a complex web of proxies and allies, each with their own stakes in the outcome. The Gulf countries, while geographically distant, were far from unaffected, their reactions varying widely in the face of this turmoil. Russia and the United States, global powerhouses, found themselves intricately involved, their actions impacting the course of the war. The US in particular played a significant role, navigating a delicate balance of interests and alliances. But let us not forget the heart of this conflict: Israel, a nation caught in the crossfire of global politics and ideological warfare. As we delve into the annals of history, we find that the Israel war was much more than meets the eye. The consequences of this conflict continue to shape our world today. Following the conclusion of the Israel War, we now turn our attention to a significant subplot that played out in the shadows of the main conflict, the Iran-Israel proxy war. The origins of this proxy conflict are deeply rooted in ideological differences and regional power struggles. Iran's support for anti-Israel groups and Israel's counteractions led to a covert war that was fought not on battlefields, but through intelligence agencies and underground networks. The Iran-Israel proxy war significantly influenced the dynamics of the Israel war. It added another layer of complexity to the conflict, with both Iran and Israel leveraging their alliances and resources to gain an upper hand. This proxy war also had significant implications on the regional stage, shaping alliances and influencing the strategic decisions of countries in the Middle East. On a global scale, the Iran-Israel proxy war further complicated the involvement of international powers in the Israel war. It intensified the stakes for countries like Russia and the USA, forcing them to navigate an even more intricate web of alliances and interests. In conclusion, the Iran-Israel proxy conflict added another dimension to the complex Israel war, creating ripples that were felt not just in the Middle East, but across the globe. The echoes of this proxy war continue to reverberate today, shaping the geopolitical landscape of the Middle East.